Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, making our Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) more famous for action. I am your host, United Nations Mama, and I'm so glad you are here. Today's legacy being to talk about the 15th Sustainable Development Goal, the Life on Land Goal. For you to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. Imagine for a second you are standing in the middle of a massive house. This house is the only place in the entire universe where you can survive. Now, look down at your feet. That soil is not just dirt. It is a living, breathing skin. It is a massive recycling machine that takes dead things and turns them into life. It filters your water so it's safe to drink, and it holds the roots of every plant that feeds you. If that soil turns to dust, the house has no floor. You can't stand, you can't build, and you certainly cannot eat or can't eat. Now, look at the walls. Those are the forests. They are not just collection of trees. They are the giant air scrubbers of the planet. They suck in the poison you breathe out, CO2, and pump out the oxygen you need to stay alive. They also act as a giant sponge, soaking up heavy rains so that your house does not flood. Finally, look at the maintenance crew. These are the bees, the birds, the worms, and the millions of insects. They are the engineers. They move seeds around, they pollinate the crops, and they keep the soil healthy. They don't send you a bill, but they do trillions of dollars worth of work every single year for free. Sustainable Development Goal 15, Life on Land, is simply our plan to stop tearing up the floorboards and firing the maintenance crew. It is a common sense of realizing that we don't live on the earth. We live inside a biological system. If we break that system, we break our own life support. It is moving from being a user who just takes everything until it is finished or it is gone, to being a steward who makes sure that the house is still standing for our next generation. Even with all our technology in 2026, we are still facing some massive global gaps that is putting our life on land at risk. Global gaps such as the fertility gap, that is our land degradation. Every year we lose an area of fertile land that is as large as the size of Greece. Because of bad farming and chemicals, our soil is physically dying, losing the nutrients it needs to grow our food. We are trying to feed a growing population while the very ground we used to grow those food is disappearing or wearing out. We are also facing the safety gap, that is deforestation. We are still losing roughly about 10 million hectares of forest every year. When we lose a forest, we don't just lose roots, we lose our climate shield. Without those trees to soak up heat and our water, we get flash floods and heat islands that kill people in cities thousands of miles away. We are also facing the intelligence gap, that is the loss of our biodiversity. We are currently in what the scientists call the 6th mass extinction. We are losing species 1,000 times faster than the natural rate. So think of every species as a book in a library. One might have the recipe for a cure for cancer, another might know how to survive a drought. We are burning the library before we have even read the books. We have not even discovered the potentials or the full potentials of these species, what they can do for us humans, and how they can help us survive on the earth, and yet we are burning them all up. So how can we close the gap? We can close the gap, or you can close this gap, by moving from extraction to restoration. So instead of just not cutting trees, we start regenerative agriculture that pulls health back into our soil. And instead of saving just one animal, we protect wildlife corridors so nature can move and breathe. And instead of seeing nature as a cost, we can start seeing it as our most valuable asset. You can also think of life on land as a global savings account that pays for everything you eat, you wear, and you breathe. Hear this: every plant, human or animal on this planet holds a recipe for survival. Some hold the secret to curing a disease, others know how or a way to make or develop things. When a species goes extinct, it's like burning a book in the library of life that might have held the cure for a disease or the secret to even a drought-resistant crop. So Sustainable Development Goal 15, Life on Land, is our mission, our collective mission to stop the fire. It's about making sure that when the next generation need answers on how to survive, it is still, our library is still open and the books are still there. We cannot burn up our library of life, that is our life on land, and expect that both this our generation and the generations after us will survive. No, it's not possible. We may not need to build expensive machines to clean out air or manage our water. We just need to protect the forest that already doing it for free for us. We used to think the forest and the seas were warehouses for us to take from. We now, or you now, should know that they are the air filters and life support that keeps us all alive. To bridge your awareness action gap towards our sustainable development goal, life on land, you must master the specific UN targets that protect our mountains, our forests and fields, or aims to protect them. Target 15.1 is conservation, or to conserve and restore terrestrial ecosystems, specifically focusing on our forests, wetlands, mountains, and drylands by 2030. Target 15.2 is about ending deforestation and restoring degraded forests, promoting sustainable management of all types of forests, and increasing reforestation globally. Target 15.3 is about ending desertification and restoration of our degraded lands, that is striving to achieve a land degradation neutral world by 2030. Target 15.4 is about ensuring conservation of our mountain ecosystems, protecting their biodiversity to provide essential benefits for sustainable development. Target 15.5 is about protecting biodiversity and also natural habitat, that is taking urgent action to halt the loss of our biological diversity and protect threatened species globally. Target 15.6 is fair sharing of our genetic resources, that is ensuring that the benefits from using nature's DNA, like for medicine, are shared fairly within the communities they came from. Target 15.7 is ending poaching and trafficking of protected species, that is addressing both the supply and demand for illegal wildlife products. Target 15.8
is to prevent invasive alien species, stopping endangered plants and animals from destroying local ecosystems. Target 15.9 is integrating ecosystem values into planning, making sure that governments account for the value of nature in their budgets and in their national accounts. Target 15.8 is about increasing financial resources, mobilizing and significantly increasing financial resources from all sources to conserve our biodiversity. Target 15.B is financing sustainable forest management, providing the incentives to developing countries to advance conservation and also reforestation. Target 15.C is combating global poaching and trafficking, that is increasing global efforts to combat these poachings, including by increasing the capacity of local communities. So now that you know and you have heard the UN targets concerning our life on land goal, let's take the case study for the life on land sustainable development goal. The case study is what we call the Great Green War. This happened in Africa, Sahel region. The Great Green War is an ambitious Africa-led initiative launched in 2007 to combat desertification, climate change, and poverty across the Sahel region. What was the problem? The initiatives aim to enhance food security, promote sustainable development, and mitigate conflicts between farmers and herders over diminishing resources. So what was the solution? An epic project to plant a 8,000-kilometer wall of trees and vegetation across the width of Africa was launched. There was also regenerative agriculture, that is not just a line of trees, is a mosaic of sustainable farms that trapped water and nitrogen in the soil. Local villages were also paid to plant and maintain these trees, creating green jobs where there was none. Now, what was the result? There was land restoration. Millions of hectares of degraded land were brought back to life. There was also climate resilience. The war is sequestering massive amounts of carbon and creating a microclimate that brings back the rain. This particular Green War initiative was to restore about 100 million hectares of degraded land, create about 10 million green jobs, and sequester 250 million tons of carbon by 2030. So hearing this action means that there is nothing impossible for us to do, especially when we come to do it together as one people, as one nation, or as a group. We can create peace, food, and a future for our millions of children to come. The second case study for the life on land goal is what is called the regreening of the Losses Plateau. This happened in China. The regreening of the Losses Plateau is a landmark ecological restoration project in China that transformed severely eroded land into productive green landscape. So what was the problem? Once the cradle of Chinese civilization, the Losses Plateau became one of the most eroded places on earth. Centuries of over-farming and deforestation turned it into a barren, dusty wasteland that dumped millions of tons of silt into the Yellow River, causing massive floods downstream. The Lost Plateau was historically a fertile area but turned into a degraded, barren landscape due to centuries of intensive agriculture and deforestation, leading to massive soil erosion. So what was the solution? One of the largest, in fact, the regreening of the Lost Plateau became one of the largest successful land restoration projects in history. How did they come about it? Millions of people were mobilized to create bench terraces to catch rainwater and plant deep-rooted trees and grasses to hold the soil. There was also farming on steep slopes. Farming on steep slopes were banned, and local people were given land rights to the newly greened land areas, giving them a personal stake in the land's health. When you give people power, or when you give your citizens power, things always turns out much better. Now, what was the result? Food security, crop yields tripled because the soil was finally healthy again. There was also an economic transformation. More than 2.5 million people were lifted out of poverty. It improved the livelihoods of these people, and also using sustainable land management, it was a game changer. What is a lesson for you? Nature is incredibly resilient. If we stop the abuse and provide the tools, the earth will heal itself and feed us in return. Nature is incredibly resilient. If we can stop the abuse of it and instead provide the right tools, it will heal itself and give us and feed us in return. So let's take it easy on this, our only land or planet that we have, because it can give us a high return anytime. So you have to do your action, or you have to know your action first. So these are some of the household professional habits you can start to practice today. Simple habits, even so, that you can start to practice today. You can decide to replace one non-native plant in your garden with a local indigenous species today. You can also leave a patch of your lawn to grow wild. This creates a cathedral for pollinators like the bees and the butterflies. You can check your potting soil. Never buy soil containing peat, as harvesting it destroys carbon-rich bugs. Use old woods and bricks to create a nesting site for solitary bees and insects. Don't chase them away. Don't kill them off. You can decide to just construct a small home or house for them. Eliminate all synthetic weed killers and bug spray. They don't just kill pests, they kill the soil too. You can decide to turn your food waste to feed your local soil instead of just throwing it away, like compost to heal the soil. You can also turn off your outdoor lights at night. Artificial light confuses migrating birds and insects. Never buy wood or paper products without the FSC, that's the Forest Stewardship Council logo. Yes, if you can FSC check your wood products and so on, please check to make sure that these people making these woods or furnitures are not illegally doing deforestation to our planet, to our forest. Donate to organizations that buy land specifically to keep it wild forever. That is, to keep it open to natural habitats, animals, and so on. Recycle your old phone properly. So, mining for quota inside phones destroys gorilla habitats in the Congo. You can research more about this. Write to your city council or community leader to protect the underdeveloped land on the edges of your town. You can also, for your next furniture purchase, buy used or upcycled wood instead of new timber. If you can, donate to groups that provide gear and training to wildlife rangers on the front line, people that go out there to protect and even research about our wildlife. Then again, never buy exotic birds, reptiles, or plants without verifying they were not just taken or collected from the wild or harvested without legal notice. You can also try to move up some of your savings to funds that support regenerative forestry and soil technology, investing in nature-based solutions. You can also support legal movements that give rivers and forests person who settles in the courts, that is, lobbying for rights for nature, giving them a voice. The movement that speaks on behalf of these forests, as you see that they don't have the voice to speak. You can also fund the reintroduction of keystone species like the wolves or the beavers that fix our ecosystems naturally. Before buying electronics, check the company's conflict mineral policy. Mining for minerals like tantalum often fuels deforestation and violence in biodiversity spots. And again, if you have influence over local land, advocate for edge linking, that is connecting small patches of forest that allows animals to travel safely. So let's not just spend time building roads and occupying everywhere with our technology and our cars and forget to make its space for our animals to travel safely, no matter how small or big they are, whether you can't even see them. Then again, you can decide to support companies using fungi, that is something like mushrooms, to create biodegradable packaging or even leather. This replaces plastic and animal hide production. You can also demand that new construction projects in your city are required to save the topsoil rather than just paving over it. That is, you should be careful and concerned about saving those topsoils where you go to do your construction projects and all of that. It's not a mentality you should have that they are nothing and they should be just be paved out just for your construction to happen. You can also decide to donate or volunteer for local seed banks that preserve traditional non-GMO plant varieties. Most industry meat is fed on soil grown on deforested land, so you can decide to switch to grass-fed or local options. You can also decide to join the movements that make the large-scale destruction of ecosystem a crime under international laws. Indigenous people protect about 80% of the world's biodiversity, so you can decide to support their land rights directly or support indigenous-led conservations. Remind your leaders that healthy soil is the world's biggest land-based carbon sink. Soil health is climate action. Yes, whether you're a soil scientist, a soil student, know that, or you're a non-soil student or soil enthusiast, you should know that at every point you are protecting our soil in every little or big way you can is also a form of climate action. You can also decide to ask your favorite clothing brand.
Is your viscose, that's the rayon, sourced from ancient or endangered forests? Use your platform to highlight the unsung heroes. It's not just human beings in this case, the insects, the fungi that keep the world running. Yes, you can know more about this if you want to know. You can decide to invest in restoration economy, that is supporting businesses that make money by healing our lands, such as regenerative timber or ecotourism. You can advocate for outdoor education, demand that forest nature observation or education on our forest is also part of primary school curriculum. You can decide to also lobby for the removal of dead spaces like unused parking lots to be turned into urban forests. So much very important. You can also support shifting government funds towards diverse small-scale regenerative farms. Plant a tree that is known to live for 100 or 200 years above, like an oak or a mahogany. It is a physical gift to our 23rd century. You can try to eat and live according to the rhythm of your local landscape. That is, eat what grows naturally in your community, your area, or in your nation. You can also never vote for a candidate who plans to open protected wilderness areas for drilling or mining. Yes. You can also normalize nature-based gifting, that is, give tree dedications or land protection acres as gifts instead of plastic toys and all sorts of gifts that we have today. Advocate for parks that cross national borders, allowing animals to follow their natural migration routes, that is supporting transboundary conservation. Your awareness action gap towards our sustainable development goal 15, life on land, closes when you realize that the earth is not a supermarket. Our earth is not a supermarket. It is our shared inheritance. We are the first generation in history that truly understands how the web of life works, which makes us the first generation that has the full responsibility to actually protect it. So believe that life on land is the ultimate testament to human gratitude. It is the realization that we share this greenhouse with millions of other species, and our job is to be able to be the head gardeners, not the wrecking ball. When we protect a forest, we are not just saving trees, we are saving the intelligence of the very earth that we live in. You have now grabbed your knowledge, discovered your role. Now go out and do your action. Stay connected to the Legacy Podcast TLP to lead you through on how you can create a sustainable change. As you have chosen to listen, act, and share this legacy, you are the engine that is making our sustainable development goal, life on land, more famous for action.